Is it better to bill your customers by the hour, or should you give them a set fee for the whole project? We're gonna get into that right now. Hey guys, my name is Eddie Hood and you are watching The Profitable Entrepreneur, where I am so freaking obsessed with helping you build a business that's gonna set you free. The goal there is so that you can have more time with your family or go on adventures, or maybe you just wanna start more businesses and be crazy, and that's fantastic as well. Today we're looking at whether you should bill your customers by the hour or if you should have a set fee for projects, because there's pros and cons for both guys, and we need to understand them and really make the most of the situation. Start by understanding that when you invoice by the hour, that really benefits you more than the customer, because you get to take your time and you can bill them for every little thing that you do, and you don't have to worry so much. Whereas on the other end, the customer's going, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get billed for every email he sends me, for every paper that he reads. The bill's gonna be massive. And they're over there sweating because they don't know what the final cost is going to be. Whereas if you bill them a set fee for the whole project, that kind of benefits the customer a little bit more, because they can at least budget for that. They know what their fee is gonna be. They can set that up, and then they can just put money aside for that. And now that the pressure's on you a little bit, because you gotta meet your budget, you gotta make sure your costs are in line, that your profit margins are in line. So understand that there's a lot of psychology going on here, and if it's my business, I tend to bill by the project because I want to do what's best for the customer, and that forces me to be efficient. That's just my opinion though, and in every industry it is different, because sometimes billing by the hour is actually better. So you need to look at what you're doing and what your customers are doing and just make an assessment. But ask yourself this: in this situation and in this industry, if I were the customer paying for this, how would I want to be billed? And that is how you should be billing your customers. Now let's look at some of the pros and cons for each side, and I'm gonna walk you through how to do each of them successfully. Let's say you've decided to bill your customers by the hour. How do you do that? Well, here are a few tips. Number one, you're going to need a time tracking software. That's a given, because you gotta track every increment of every second of every day. One of my favorites is T-Sheets. They're not paying me to say this. I use them in my own company, and I suggest them for a lot of clients. It's a good software, but there are millions out there. Find one that works for your business and use that. Next, you need to figure out what your costs per hour are. So how much are you going to be spending on your labor for each hour, as well as any materials that are going to go into that hour of work. Once you know all of your costs, you can add your markup onto that, and that'll be your billable rate. Now don't get too hung up on what your competitors are charging. Yes, you need to know what their hourly rates are as well. But if your work is really good and people know it and you're like miles ahead, you can charge more and not feel bad for it, and people are gonna line up to pay you. But if you're kind of just doing average work like everybody else, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time really making a lot of money charging by the hour. Next, when you send your invoices to your customers, so this is hugely important. If you wanna get paid on time and you don't want your customers to freak out every time they get a bill, this is what you've got to do. In all of your invoices, make sure that you're sending them to your customers on a very regular basis, okay? Don't just send them one weird random invoice all of a sudden. You can send them invoices every Friday or maybe the last day of every month, but be consistent so they know it's coming. And then on every invoice, on the line items, make sure you're super detailed with why you're charging them for that hour of time. So don't put, for example, $500 to answer your emails. I've seen invoices like that, guys. The customer gets it and they go, what emails? I'm not paying this. I just spit on the camera. That's because I'm so excited. But anyway, when they get $500 bill for you answering emails, they start thinking, what is he talking about? I'm not paying this. This is a stupid bill. They literally won't pay it. You have to put on each line item, these are the emails that I answered, this is what we talked about, these are the solutions I came up with, and this is how it benefited you. When the customer gets that bill, they'll go, oh yeah, I remember that, and yeah, that was helpful, okay, I guess I'll pay it. That's what you gotta do if you're gonna be billing your customers by the hour. If you don't, you're not gonna get paid. If you're gonna do project billing like I do in my own company, here's how you do it successfully. So first you've got to understand all of your costs. Well, let me back up. You've got to know that there's gonna be more work going into the beginning of this relationship than there normally would be. So you're gonna be creating a bid for your project. And when you do that, you've got to understand all of your costs. You've got to understand your profit margins, and don't forget your timelines. Everybody just thinks, okay, the project's gonna cost us this is how much we wanna make, there it is. Consider timelines as well, because is this a project that's gonna take 3 days, or 3 months. That should affect your pricing a little bit, because what it's doing is it's tying up your resources for 3 freaking months. And there's this thing in accounting called opportunity cost. What could you do with those resources over 3 months that you now cannot do because they're locked into this project? That's a cost to you that might not be a dollars and cents figure, but what if a really profitable, really big project came along and now you can't take it because these guys are over here doing this? So consider your timelines in your projects as well. Now, once you get a bid to your customer, they're going to start price shopping you. That's just what happens when you do bid pricing. They're going to take your bid to all of the other vendor bids, and they're going to see kind of how you stack up. So in the sales meeting, before you give them the bid, make sure they understand why you are awesome. If they don't, they're just gonna line your price up to everybody else's prices and literally pick the cheapest. So here's what I do. In all of my sales meetings, and I have my sales team do this as well, I tell all of our leads, hey, before we go through the price, you need to understand we are not the cheapest accounting team available out there. And we're not trying to be, and here's why. And so we walk them through our strategy for getting their accounting clean and their books clean and getting them just super connected to their finances. And we show the value, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to do this before we say, here's the fee. And when I give them the fee, they're prepared for it and they feel good about it. And we close 7 out of 10 leads. That's pretty good. And I'm definitely not the cheapest out there. So don't feel like you've got to, be the low baller, because you're just hurting yourself when you do that. All right. Once the bid goes out and it gets accepted, which it will because you're awesome, once that gets accepted, you need to make sure that the customer is paying you in a way that is fair to the customer and fair to you. So here's what I mean by that. Don't say, just pay me when the work's done. That's a bad idea, because you're not going to get paid by half of your people. What you need to do is set it up so that you're getting at least part of it up front and part of it in the end. You can do 50% down, do the work, and then once they've approved the work, get the remaining 50%. But get some cash up front. That creates some commitment from your customers. That puts their skin in the game. That puts your skin in the game. And everybody's working on this project together now. If they don't pay you until the very end, the customer just sits in the background and says, no, you're not doing a very good job. And they find ways to not appreciate your work, which is no good. So get them in the game in the beginning, do great work, and get paid in the end, and you're gonna have an awesome, awesome relationship. Here's my question to you. What are you doing? Are you billing by the hour, or are you doing project billing? Let us know in the comments down below, and if it's working or not. Also, if you're having any problems with either of them, you can ask those questions, and I will be happy to help. Remember, guys, I'm the CFO for hundreds of businesses around the country. This is all I do all day long, is help companies with their finances. So if you get stuck on your billing strategy or your system, ask the questions. I'm here to help. If you haven't done it, click that big, beautiful red subscribe button over there. That is going to give you access to every video I create in the future, so that we can help you build a business that's going to set you free. And until I see you next time, have a great and profitable day. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. See you guys.